there's certainly institutions out there that sort of deserve to be scrutinized, and some are slinging mud at some institutions. But Grameen is about, I've not seen a cleaner institution, a more well-intentioned, caring institution that works for its clients. None of this balance, again, here's something that we talk about in Microfinance, sort of trying to find that balance between being a business and being
of social benefit,
work socially for the clients. So, let's take SKS. I don't want to pick on them, but it's one that we all kind of know about. Again, in India, it's the largest one in India. They've got 5 million clients or so. And they say, well, we've got 5 million women that come and borrow from us, and we're helping those women. Yeah, we made hundreds of millions of dollars of profit off those women, but win-win. Okay, Comportamos in Mexico, a little more extreme. They made made $2 billion in profit off loans to women, and the interest rates in Mexico are over 100% a year. And they say, well, these clients get loans, so they seem to be better off, and we certainly are better off with hundreds of millions of dollars of profit. Win-win. In Grameen, you don't see anything that would look like the balance is being tilted toward Grameen benefiting from the poor or Yunus benefiting from the poor. If anything, the balance is far, far, far more tilted toward the poor than Grameen. Again, they literally should be of the large institutions. They're the last that should be accused of doing harm. There's a lot more out there that should be asking themselves. We should also always be looking for that balance and asking ourselves if we can improve and do a little bit better. When you're selling something to the poor, when you're making profit off the poor, you should always be, in my opinion, you're walking a really fine line, and you should always be asking yourself, are you doing the best job possible, or is there something more you can do? And I think Grameen has. Again, in the experiences I've had with them over the many years, they've asked themselves that question, and whenever, I would almost add, whenever possible, they've erred on the side of the poor instead of erred on the side of, the sustainability, i.e. profitability of the business.
That was very articulate. Question about why the government, who owns 4% of Grameen, for example, is able at 4% to take over and kick the founder out and the leader and the pioneer in the entire field. How was that able to happen in a banking institution? I don't get it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the bank. Again, for everything I know, and I've seen the votes on the board. They own 3 spots on the board of 12, and that's because back when Grameen was converted into a bank, they owned 25% of the shares. So, but the clients have bought more shares, so the clients now are up to 96. But the government still has 3 board spots. Now, it was not Yunus's kicking him out, whatever that word might be, was not a board decision. In fact, the board has voted to retain him. It's a legality. There is some law somewhere in the Ministry of Finance that says that you cannot be the general manager or CEO of a financial bank once you've reached the age of 60. Okay, now Yunus is 71. Okay, for 11 years. They let him continue to run it. They all knew he was more than 60. They let him run the bank. It was only over the last 6 months where the prime minister, and she seems to be extremely heavily involved in this, verbally attacking Grameen and attacking Yunus. So they're sort of like looking for some legality, and they dust off that law that they've never applied for 11 years, and they say, "Oh, Yunus, by the way, you're too old to run Grameen. You must step down." And that's all they've done now is say, "You're 71 and you need to step down." And here's something of an irony, I think, that the press conference where they announced that it was the Minister of Finance, who's 77 years old, and runs the Ministry of Finance for the entire country, saying, saying, I'm 77, I'm the Minister of Finance, but you're 71, and anyone over the age of 60 isn't allowed, isn't judged, and I'm filling in a little bit of the blanks here, judged at the level of competency to run a bank, okay? So you're too old to run a bank at 60. I happen to be 77, and I'm running an entire country of finance department. So it's again all the evidence, and again everything that people are talking about. It all seems pretty clear that this is being pulled out simply as a way to kick Yunus out, to some degree diminish his stature. And I think you might know, we haven't mentioned it in this interview, but Yunus did some years ago, maybe four or 5 years ago, form a political party to run against the prime minister. She won, but that's the fact is Yunus is something of a political adversary who publicly says the current government is not serving the needs of the poor. The poor in Bangladesh do not have the best government in place, and when you're saying that, and the head of a bank, politicians might, at least a certain percentage of them, are going to be very likely looking for ways to diminish your standing in the eyes of the citizens.
In the BBC News, they had written that the Prime Minister accused Dr. Yunus of treating Grameen Bank as his personal property and claimed that it was sucking blood from the poor. And so this is a pretty hostile thing. You don't speak like this unless you're trying to demonize somebody and have them fall from grace and their whole reputation killed, really.
Yeah, and again, there's no money that. No money ever went out of the client's pockets and into Yunus's pockets or other Grameen pockets. It's virtually a cooperative, 96% owned by the clients. Right? It was set up with the purest of intentions, run in a something of a squeaky clean manner, and there are literally, there are, even in Bangladesh alone, there are 100 institutions that on every single one of those checklist criteria that you might go through to say, are they treating the poor properly, and how much money are they making off the poor? Any of those criteria, the other 99 would get a lower score. Most of them. I haven't run the score on all 100, but by the prices they're charging and the profit levels they're making and the ownership structure they have, and among other criteria, Grameen let's use a new word. I'd say Grameen is the most ideological institution in microfinance, yes. If not, in Bangladesh, if not the entire microfinance world. Ideology is Yunus's.
That's his whole paradigm. It's the whole purpose and raison d'etre of Grameen. Now, what do you think is going to happen with the name? Why should they be able to keep the name? That name is an asset in and of itself. It is filled with goodwill. It is imbued with his energy and consciousness and love and attention and focus. And now they're hijacking not only the institution but the name. What can you do?
I'm not sure. I haven't yet seen anything definitive that the government is taking over the bank. They're requiring a new CEO, and Yunus has said, it's almost logical, you're 71, you eventually look for a successor. And he said, we are looking for a successor. We need a bit of time. I can't just leave, like tomorrow. Needs some, I think I've heard...
well, he's gone now.
Yeah, but then, a new CEO is brought in. That doesn't mean that the bank...
They may go to a flat interest rate, right?
They may. They may. The organizational culture. They may start sucking. They might really start sucking blood out of the poor, where for 30 some years they never have. But that's a risk. Even if the government weren't involved.
That's true.
Any replacement, and even with Yunus there, doesn't mean that, I run an institution and not anymore near the size of Grameen, but I know that not every decision that gets implemented is my, and I'm proud of this, it's not my decision. It's the team you put together.